Yo, my brother, what's going on?
Good morning, Mr. Jackson. How are we making out today?
Hey, man, it's nice and rainy and a little bit chilly, but what are you gonna do?
I hear that, man. I hear that.
It is the winter time, right?
Yeah. So what are we doing today? We're doing sports picks with the scout.
Yeah, the scout be on hopefully shortly. We're gonna be bringing him on here in a few minutes. We're gonna be talking about NFL playoffs. We got the Colts and the Texans. We got the Eagles and the Bears. Obviously, it's a big game around here. We got the Chargers in Baltimore. We got the championship game. So it's going to be good. So we're going to bring Todd on here to talk about those games as well as some other things. But before we get Todd on here, I wanted to kind of run something by you here, Devil Dog. Some kind of struck me this morning. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not for it. I'm just a little bit naive on it. But I saw in the news this morning, the Marine Corps is actually going to have the first branch that's going to bring females and males together in the barracks for boot camp. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that?
Yes, sir.
I have conflicted feelings on that one. One, I missed out. Right? Isn't that always the answer when you hear something like that? You're like, damn, I missed out on that. I could have had a much better 3 months. But the other is that's just dumb. That's as dumb as Scientology. You know what I mean?
Leah Remy. Every time you say Scientology on the show, we got to throw out a Leah Remy.
Leah Remy, I like that. That's all good stuff.
You know?
So, yeah, that's silliness. I think the scout just jumped on.
Yeah, I'm here, guys. I'm here.
How, Todd, I don't know if you caught that part, but how do you feel about the Marine Corps having interchangeable with male and female recruits in boot camp?
Well, I mean, number one, I never served, so I know that takes a lot to even serve. But hey, as a guy, I always would like women around. I mean, that's just me. But Scott probably has a lot better, and you, Chris, have a lot better idea if that's a right move as far as training and
there would be no training. That's the thing. I mean, you'd come out physically fit, but you wouldn't be trained in anything else. But one thing, it begins with the F.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think you would have to keep that separate.
I'm all for women's equal, and I 100%. I got a daughter, Scott. You have two daughters. I'm all about if they're ass kickers, fucking go ass kick. If they're
they should have started this in the Air Force, if anything.
Well, listen, if they're CEOs and stuff like that, man, just let a woman take the ball and run with it. But frankly, you got 3 months, and you're walking around just trying to figure things out, get through the motions, and you got a woman on the top bunk or the bottom bunk, and listen, brother, it gets pretty damn lonely at night in Paris.
Yeah.
And now I can snuggle. Now I got a real snuggle buddy. I don't know, but anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there again. Anybody have any inputs on that? I'd feel free to have a more in-depth conversation about that at a later date.
Yeah, I think we should, because I got a completely controversial issue on that. And it's going to be part of that don't ask, don't tell. So really, the deep down of it is, what's the difference between homosexuals and heterosexuals being in the same platoon? You know what I mean? Like, if two guys or two girls wanted to get it on, they can. But now you're just making that other part of it happen.
Well, here's the other issue, brother, and I'll just speak this way. I'm not even concerned about the man and the woman getting it in. I'm concerned with the man and woman getting it in, and then another man and that same woman getting it in, and then the two men find out about it in the barracks, and now we got fist fights, because that's life.
It's either fist fighting or Eiffel Towers, either one, brother.
And now but now we're down the range, right? Now we're down the range. We're shooting. Well,
you're just I told you the other day you're just an evil bastard. I told you this already. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, this is how my mind thinks, brother. This is how my mind works.
Kill them all.
But anyway, Todd, so I appreciate you coming on, Todd. I hope you're having a great weekend, and obviously Happy New Year to you, sir.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys too, man. I'm excited to be on. I think there's a lot of exciting games going on this weekend.
Well, I think it is a wild card weekend that if you love football, then you're going to have a great next couple hours. If you're not really into football, I would actually suggest you watch football, because I think it's going to be a real good presentation of what football could be just based off the 4 teams. I think this is actually the best wild card weekend that we've probably had, I would say, in the last couple of years, just based off the teams.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I was talking to somebody this morning, and we were just talking how exciting these matchups are this weekend. And, there's a lot of, great games, close games, good matchups. And, I'm excited for it. And every football fan should be excited for it. And if you're a casual fan, I'd say start watching. This is the weekend to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've done a little bit of background research. Obviously, you've been following the 8 teams that are playing this weekend all season long. For those that just now joining us with Todd on the air, for lack of better words, has been crushing it this year. If you've been putting any money on him, then you're welcome for the couple mortgage payments that he's because he's actually just been dominating. You can go back to any podcast and confirm that for yourself. I don't have to really give out the numbers or percentages, but if you put $100 on every single one of his games, you've made a pretty nice penny. And if you put more on them, then let's have a conversation offline. I want to know what you're doing and I'm not doing that you could put more than $100 on a game. But we can have that conversation. But let's go ahead and dive into it, Todd. I know the Colts and the Texans are the first on the docket. I think they come on at 4:30 today.
Actually, I think it's the Chargers Ravens this afternoon. And
is that what
yeah. But
okay.
just to go back, right now I stand at 18 for 24 with the picks this year. But I just want to let your fans know. Yeah, Nat, I just want to let you know, Nat, these games are going to be tough to pick. Now everybody's good, everybody's hot coming in, and it's going to be. I keep doing my research and going back and forth, and these games are going to be tough, but they're going to be exciting.
All right, no, let's get right into this. Let's figure this out, and let's get some more winners going, Todd.
All right, so let's tackle the Chargers Ravens game first. We got the Chargers coming in, playing well. They're the high seed for the as a wild card team. I believe they finished up 12-4, 11-5, something like that. Rivers having a good year, but the Baltimore Ravens right now are on a roll. They got the number 1 defense in the league. Jackson, the quarterback, the rookie quarterback, Lamar Jackson, has been playing well. Not only is he averaging, I think, around 75 to 85 yards rushing, which is ridiculous for a quarterback. He's starting to throw the ball well, and that was the question about him. Can he manage the game? Can he throw the ball? Can he not put the team in trouble? Hurt that defense, by turning the ball over and getting the short field for the opponent. And he's been playing well. So this is going to be an exciting game, a tough matchup. They played a couple weeks ago. Baltimore got the best of them. I like Baltimore, and given the 2.5 points, I think Baltimore is actually going to win 24-17. So I say give the points, take Baltimore, and we got Baltimore winning 24-17. Now, San Diego has a great defense too, but I like the way Lamar Jackson's playing. I like the way that they're running and passing, mixing things up. Did I say San Diego? I meant the Los Angeles Chargers got a good defense. They got Bosa on the end. He's going to have to put pressure on Jackson today. But I just like Baltimore. I think they got the formula. Chris, you and I talk about that formula for playoff football. They can run the ball, and they got great defense. And I think they're going to get after it today. And I like them 24-17.
I agree with you, Todd. I've let my feelings be known about Phillip Rivers. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think every year we come to the same conclusion with Phillip Rivers. He's great, he's good, he's whatever. But frankly, he just has done nothing in the playoffs for whatever reason. I know he comes from the draft class of Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, and he's the one that doesn't have much playoff success, never mind a Super Bowl win. And I think he comes back down to the Phillip Rivers that we know, and he goes back to his 8 kids, and he enjoys the rest of his life.
Right?
I don't buy into it. Usually I would probably tend to go with a Phillip Rivers led offense over a rookie running Michael Vick type quarterback. But Baltimore's defense is just playing out of their mind right now. Ever since it really seems like they've been playing out of their minds ever since there was talk that Harbaugh was going to get booted out of Baltimore. And I think Baltimore is going to be a dangerous team today and moving forward in the playoffs. So I will side with you on the Baltimore Ravens winning outright against Chargers. San Diego, Los Angeles, whatever they want to be, I think they go back home after today, or they stay home.
Yeah, you know what? And I feel for Phillip Rivers. You know, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, Chargers had some impressive wins. And you really thought they were like the hot pick maybe to go to the Super Bowl. But like you said, man, I just think running into that Baltimore defense today, I think they got a bad matchup. And I really like Baltimore moving forward. Hey, I would like to see Phillip Rivers have some success in the playoffs, but I just don't see it today. I like that Baltimore defense. I think it's stingy. I think it's fast. I think they're physical. And I think they're going to have some trouble with them.
Right as rain. So, yeah, I agree with that. How do you feel about all this foosball there, Scott?
You know, I always agree with both of you guys because I know Dick. So,
Scott, you know more than you think.
I probably do. I know the grass is green, the football's brown, and there's some stripes on it and some stitches. You know what I mean?
Well, you got that going for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good with that. There's a couple lines. I think it's 100 yards, and then, you know, whatever it is. Dude, you couldn't – listen, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, I know football. I know I know all the little ins and outs. But when you're at, 42nd and 15th and all – I don't know what all that stuff is when it comes down to it. With all that. So one day you'll have to teach me all that, Todd, because I get, you get every 10 yards to get it down. Every time you go 10 yards, you get a new first down. But then when you're at 42nd and 29th and whatever street you're on and there's streets on the field, I have no freaking idea.
Hey, listen, Scott, you got the basics down, right? It always starts with the basics. So we'll build from there. You got the basics.
But I'm 37.
You always go back to the basics.
I'm 37. It's like teaching a 90-year-old person a computer.
We'll get you there. Don't worry. We'll get you there.
I appreciate it, man. As long as I don't break a hockey puck when you ask me to play football.
Well, boys, I'm gonna take a little brief pause here and just give a shout out to one of our whiskey level sponsors. As I'm sure you both know and realize, we've kind of revamped our website, mostly off of Scott's ingenuity, I'll say. But he's really put together a nice website that's kind of our base, just sending out all of this content all over the place. And I'll let Scott kind of divulge a little bit here later on about where we're being listened to around not only the country, but apparently around the world. So
around the world now, brother. Around the world.
I'll let him deep into that here in a little bit, but I just wanted to give a shout out to our very first sponsor, EGA Transport. They're serving all of Bucks County, New Jersey, Philadelphia. Apparently they go as far as New York, and we'll travel down to Florida if necessary for all your junk removal, hauling, and moving needs. So feel free to reach out to those folks over there at EGA Transport.
What's their phone number, brother?
You can find them at well, I think you have that number, don't you?
I know that the website is everythinggoesaway.com.
Right. Yeah, so check out that website, everythinggoesaway.com, or you can find them at www.head2headpodcast.com. You'll see visit sponsor right there on our homepage. They're doing some nice things out in the community for not only veterans but also senior citizens. They partner with Salvation Armies around the Delaware Valley area, and give them a call for those needs. But again, just want to give a shout out to those guys out there that are really doing some good work out there. So we appreciate what they're doing. But let's get into the second game, Todd. What do you get? I believe now this is the second game is the game that I've been pushing now, I guess, since we started this. Is that Texans and Colts game. And it's not because I like one of these teams.
Hey, Chris, the second game tonight is the Seahawks Cowboys.
Oh, is that what this is? Okay. Well, then I'm completely ass backwards on this, brother.
That's all right, man. That's all right, brother. You got the games down.
All I've been seeing is Colts Texans advertised all day long. So either I'm ass backwards or everybody's just like me and they want to get to this Texans Colts game because seriously, I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend.
It's going to be a great game.
And I'm looking forward to really getting into that one a little bit more. But we'll go ahead with the Dallas and Seattle. I'm not a Dallas Cowboy fan by any stretch of the imagination, but Todd, as you well know, I've been really high on Dallas going into the New Orleans game. I called it out outright that they would beat New Orleans. I actually put a couple dollars on that game, and I won nice there. So I know you being a Cowboy fan, you have this skepticism about they're going to just fall from grace here. And I've been for a couple of weeks saying, listen, I think you guys actually going to have something here. I'm not saying you're going to the Super Bowl, but I think you actually have a shot to do some actually be better than you have been in the last 10, 15 years. So
Absolutely.
I'll get your opinion on it, and then I'll chime in with mine. And Scott, we can go back to talking about golf or soccer or whatever.
Well, we'll talk about bull riding when it comes to my turn.
Well, yeah, there we go. Like bull ride. So yeah, let's go. Seattle Cowboys. Cowboys are favored by 2. Let me just say this about Seattle. This game is, this game can go either way. Seattle, let's see, their strength, right? Russell Wilson, Super Bowl winner, great with the legs, great improvising. He has a great arm. Seattle's defense is playing much better. Bobby Wagner is legitimately the best linebacker in the league. They got the number 1 rushing attack, 3-headed monster in the league. Very, very good team, coming in, playing well. But I like the Cowboys in this game. I think last week when they played Dak the entire game, I think that did a lot for him. I like the way he's coming into this game. He threw for 387 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks last week. They got the rest they needed with Zeke. Zeke's a beast. I like the formula here. I like their defense. They're young, they're fast, they're hungry, they're physical. I think this is going to be a very, very close game. I think it's going to come down to a play at the end of the game. Like I said, the Cowboys are favored by 2. I say take the Cowboys, give the 2, and I have Dallas winning 24-21. I just like the way the Cowboys came into this game from last week. Everything is lining up for them. Seattle's a formative, opponent. I think Russell Wilson is very dangerous, especially at the end of the game. But I like what the Cowboys are doing right now. I like the way they managed the team last week. I like the victory they had. They're coming in high. I just like the Cowboys in this game. They're at home. They're 7-1 at home this year. Seattle's 4-4 on the road. I think this would be a different story in Seattle. But thankful for Dallas. This is in Dallas. So I'm going to take the Cowboys. I'm going to give the 2. I say they win by 3, probably a late field goal or something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Russell Wilson pulled it out. But my gut feeling is that Dallas pulls this out in a close game. Again, I agree with you. I don't think Dallas is a Super Bowl team, but I think this is a good win for them and a step in the right direction for the years to come with that young nucleus that they have. So those are my thoughts. Again, take the Cowboys 24-21, give the 2.
I like your pick there. I like Dallas to win this game outright. I think they're being very undervalued here in this spot. Being at home, obviously they don't have a good track record in the playoffs since probably the early 90s, really, legitimately. But I agree with Jason Garrett gets a lot of heat as the coach of the Dallas Cowboys for being kind of a yes man to Jerry and Jerry World. But last week, and we'll talk about the Bears as well. What I liked about what they did is they put Dak in basically in a really a no-win situation for Dallas. Without Ezekiel Elliott, they put the onus on Dak to not get hurt. And not only does he not get hurt in the game, but he goes out and has a fantastic game, comes back from behind. Obviously, it was a who cares about games, a throwaway game. But I think if anything else, it boosts his confidence with his arm. He doesn't have to rely on Ezekiel Elliott. And, again, I've been high on Ezekiel Elliott. I think he is the best running back in the National Football League, just basically purely what he does with the ball in his hand and without the ball in his hand. I'm also, even with Saquon Barkley, I think Ezekiel Elliott is the best running back in football, even over Todd Gurley and the Rams and whatnot. With that said, I think the Dallas hopefully comes in with a chip on their shoulder, and if they do, I think they win this game. Again, I think Seattle is overvalued just based off their last few years of being so dominant. They don't have that Legion of Boom anymore. to your point, they're not at home for that 13th man. They do have the best linebacker in football, Bobby Wagner, but I just think that when you think of Seattle Seahawks, you think of 5 years ago, 3 years ago, when they were just juggernaut of a defense, and frankly, they're just not there. They didn't even win the West. They didn't even win the division out in the West. Obviously, that went to the Rams. So I think Dallas actually wins this game. It's not going to be easy, obviously, but I think they'll take care of business in Jerry World and get that W.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my gut feeling as well.
Yeah, agreed.
I agreed with everything you said. Scott, what do you got, man? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree that Jerry Willis and all those fun guys out there, whatever, Mr.
All right.
I appreciate that.
Hey, Chris, let's get to your game of the weekend here, man. Let's get to the Colts Texans.
All right, let's do that. Let's talk about Andrew Luck finally getting to the dance and an opportunity to take the Colts where they thought he was going to take them years ago when Peyton left, and now he finally has an opportunity after being hurt. Let's have that conversation because this is the game I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, this is a great matchup, man. This could be the game of the weekend. Like you said, I think Andrew Luck is the comeback player of the year from where he was a year ago, from the last, the season that he had. The last 10 games, man, the Colts have been on fire. And he's just playing very, very well. He sees the field. He's even-keeled, never gets too up, never gets too down. He's a great leader, great arm strength. If they can get that Russian attack going today, that's going to be a key for them. I think another key for them is keeping Luck upright. Houston has those defensive ends and J.J. Watt and Clowney. Man, they can get after it. But don't sleep on the Colts defense as well. They got that rookie in the middle who led the entire NFL in tackles. They got to be able to put some pressure on Watson. They got to be able to contain him. Don't let him run wild with his legs. But this is a great matchup. It's indoors, so you're not going to – it's going to be a fast track, man. These guys are going to fly all over the place. You got the receiver over there for Houston who's legitimately could be considered the best receiver in the NFL. Great hands. Their running attack has to get going. I've been going back and forth on who I like here. The Texans are favored by a point and a half. And I'm going to go because I'm going to say I think the difference in this game is that Watt and Clowney get some pressure on Luck. And I'm going to go and I'm going to say Watson has a good game. They get the running game going. It's going to be a battle, but I have the Texans 27-24 over the Colts. Give the point and a half. Take the Texans. I say Texans 27-24.
Well, you got a lot of close games this weekend. No blowouts yet.
I don't think any blowouts this weekend.
That's fantastic. Well, that goes back to my initial conversation about I think this is the best wild card weekend we've had in quite some many seasons.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking about that this morning. I think we got, if you're not a football fan, I would suggest kind of watching today, see how exciting this is. And this is a great weekend to be a football fan.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here now after agreeing with you with the first two games on Saturday. I'm gonna play devil's advocate because, like you, I kind of been kind of twin in my mind. What outcome would most be not desirable, but what would be more realistic? And really, if you just think of it on its face, you can't really answer that question, right? Because of how well the Texans have been playing. They got fantastic weapons, but then you look on the other side and you got what many would think is the comeback player of the year, yourself included, in Andrew Luck. Here's what made my decision. I do appreciate that. I don't know if you knew this, but DeAndre Hopkins is actually going to give his entire paycheck on a game day paycheck. A young lady who lost her life out there, some kind of murder happened, and I won't get into all that. But he's actually going to give his entire game day check to the family of the victim. So for that much, I really want to root for the Texans. And quite frankly, I am going to be rooting for the Texans because I like J.J. Watt. I like the Texans. I like what they're doing out there. But I actually think the Colts are going to win this game only because I looked at the fact that the Eagles just a couple weeks ago put the ass whipping on the Texans. And with all due respect to the Eagles, Nick Foles is not exactly a mobile quarterback. And I wouldn't say Andrew Luck's a mobile quarterback, but I think he's a lot more mobile than Nick Foles. And they got a lot of weapons in Indy. Marlon Mack was a complete bust and a waste of my pick in fantasy football. However, in the last couple of weeks when I didn't need him, he's been an absolute stud with the ball. So I actually think Indy wins a very close game here. I couldn't point out a score. And what did you say the line was? Texans were favored?
By 1.5. Texans are favored by 1.5.
So I think the Colts win outright just for the fact of Andrew Luck being able to be a little bit mobile, to be able to buy a little bit more time as Watt and Clowney are coming off the edge. And with Mack having a nice run game as well, that'll keep the defense honest with some good play actions. Luck has a phenomenal arm. He's a very smart quarterback. And I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Colts are going to win this game outright.
Yeah, hey Chris, I would not be surprised if that's the outcome. I was going back and forth with this game. So I was like, all right, I got to make a decision here. And the only reason I went with Houston in a close one is that they're at home. I gave them the home field advantage, and I gave them the edge in regards to that. But, I think this is the toughest game of the weekend to pick. I think this is a tough one. But my gut, I'm going to go. I'm going to put, I'm going to say Houston in a close one, just simply because of the home field.
Well, I agree with that.
But let me say this. After you tell me that Hopkins story, God bless Hopkins, man. That's an incredible a guy who gets it, steps up for a family who's going through a tragedy and a hard time, and to do that for somebody, God bless him.
No, I 100% agree. I'm a lifetime fan of that man now after hearing about that earlier this week. And like I said, I really want the Texans to win, not necessarily just because of that. I mean, that has a lot to do with it. But just in general, I like to see the Texans win. They got a quarterback that not too many people were really high on. I think that was a Bill – if I'm not mistaken, I think that was a Bill Belichick – not Belichick. What's the other guy that was running stuff out there in Texas and said, hey, you guys got to draft this quarterback. He's pretty good. Parcell. I think it was a Parcell kind of thing. I believe. But
I think you're right. Yeah.
Now the kid's out there, and he's doing some really good work. Obviously, Hopkins is a phenomenal football player in general outside of what he is doing this week for that family. And I just would like to see J.J. Watts. For all the hype that J.J. Watts is, he's like Rob Gronkowski to me. Always injured, great talent, but he's always injured. And to see him healthy and playing big, that would go a long way for football fans and for the NFL itself. I just think that Andrew Luck and his mobility, Marlon Mack playing well, there's just something to be said about I don't think Andrew Luck's quite done yet. I don't think they make a long run in the playoffs, but I think they get by the Texans and they move on.
All right. Yeah, let's get to the final game here. This is another good one. We got
the one that everybody in this area locally is really beating their chest with. And Scott, you can talk on that a little bit more. But the people in Philadelphia are going batshit crazy for this game.
Yeah, I think Randall Cunningham is going to do great this weekend.
He might.
Yeah, you got the dual threat Cunningham. I like that. Old school.
Yeah, we just need a Reggie reference there, and maybe a Jaworski reference, and we'll be good to go.
Oh yeah. Let's get going with this game. So we got the Eagles coming in with Saint Nick, right? We got Nick Foles back in the picture after that Super Bowl run last year, and he's putting some magic into the Eagles again this year. Who would have thought like 4 weeks ago that they'd go to LA, beat the Rams, come back home, beat the Texans, and then, they pretty much took care of business with the Redskins and get into the playoffs. They're coming in with the right foot, hot right now. Well, let's talk about the Bears. The Bears have had an unbelievable season. That defense is legit. They're at home. It's probably going to be a little cold. I just, this is going to be the keys for the Eagles, I think. Can they keep Nick Foles upright? Can they handle the pressure of the Bears defense? Because they take the ball away, man. They have a lot of takeaways. You got Khalil Mack, you got Floyd on the other side, and they get after it. So that's going to be a key for the Eagles. On the other side of the ball, you got Trubisky coming in with a solid year with that new head coach, kind of bringing him along. Can he take advantage of the Eagles' injuries in the secondary? The defense also for Philadelphia, you got Cox, you got Bennett. They're going to have to get some pressure on them. The defensive line for Philadelphia has really stepped it up over the last couple weeks. But with the Bears defense, with Trubisky playing well, they got some athletic big receivers on the outside. I think the Bears pull this one out. Now they're favored by 6, right? I think the Bears win. I think they're going to win 24-17. So I do like the Bears. I say give the points. They win by 7. And I like the Bears 24-17. I just think that defense is just playing out of its mind right now. If it was in Philadelphia, maybe a different story. But that Bears defense at home is going to be flying around.
This Bears defense is ranked 3rd overall in the NFL for this season. They had 50 sacks and 25 interceptions on the season. Can you imagine that? 50 sacks, 25 interceptions. That is ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Bears and you look at the 2017-2018 Super Bowl champion Eagles from last year, they played the same style offense that the Eagles played in their Super Bowl run. They have a similar defensive scheme. I believe the Bears are more of a 3-4. What I like about what the Bears are doing on defense is they put Mack up top. They separate the other two, and it basically puts a one-on-one with Mack and whoever that offensive lineman is, and that's the reason for all the sacks. I think Mack has about 12.5 sacks on the season just himself. The guy's an monster. The Raiders are absolutely stupid for getting rid of him. That was just dumber than dumb. And I think this kid, this young man, this young monster is out to prove Gruden and the Raiders wrong. And I think actually this game gets ugly in a hurry. And I think the Philadelphia Eagle fans, as much as they'd like to move on in the playoffs, obviously get to the Super Bowl win, I think they can rest assured there's going to be no more quarterback controversy moving into next year. I think Carson Wentz is their guy. Because what you don't want to happen is, obviously you want to have it happen, but now if he goes back to the Super Bowl and he wins it, now you got to get rid of Wentz, right? You can't get rid of a 2-time winning Super Bowl quarterback who's still relatively young. So I think they escape having that issue. I think this game gets out ugly. At the beginning of the week, I was just really thinking this is going to be this would be a good game, and I thought the Bears were going to win this game at the end. But being at home, Mitch Trubisky is a young quarterback. I get all that, but they haven't been winning per se on their offense. It's been all defensive. I think the Eagles, they had a nice little run there to get into the playoffs. They did really well to beat the Texans. But again, I suggested I wanted to get into this portion too about Dallas keeping Dak in. Matt Nagy did the same thing with all his starters. And the reason why the Eagles are in the playoffs, obviously they had to beat Washington last week with a 4th-string quarterback. But Matt Nagy also kept all his starters in for the Bears, in which turn they beat the Minnesota Vikings, which then, based off of the Vikings losing that game to the Bears last week, allowed the Eagles to kind of skate into the playoffs. I don't think the Eagles belong in this game. I really just don't see how they are going to get by it. Now, I could be dead wrong, and that's fine. But I think the Bears win this game, and I think this is actually an ugly game. That's just my
Yeah, you know what, with the Bears, and I agree with you. I think that was an impressive win last week in Minnesota. I mean, they shut down Kirk Cousins, and they completely shut down the Minnesota Vikings. Trubisky had a good game, so they're flying high coming into this game. I think the difference between the Eagles last year going into the playoffs and this year is they're hurt at running back. There's a lot of injuries at the running back position, and that secondary is decimated. And I think once you get into the playoffs, those things will come to fruition. They'll their weaknesses now. And remember, when you get into the playoffs, you're playing everybody is good. Everybody had a great year. Everybody's flying high. And I just think the lack of depth at that secondary, the entire secondary, you got injuries, the running backs, they had that running back by committee last year that worked. I don't see it this year coming into the playoffs. I just think they're running into a tough defense this week, and I like the Bears.
Yeah, I think the Bears are gonna go ahead and they're gonna do what they're gonna do. I think the Bears actually make a good run into the playoffs. I will wait till after this game to see how. Obviously, they need to win, but I want like to see what they do in the playoffs. Obviously, Mitch Trubisky's first playoff go. I think it's even Khalil Mack's first playoff go as well. But I think they're so young that this is just another game for them. Happens to be at Soldier Field. It's going to be cold. It's going to be ugly out there, and I just think I see this game getting ugly. Not in a hurry, but by the third quarter, it's going to be like, okay, we get it, and I think they make a nice run in the playoffs. How you feel about that? How you feel about that, Scott? That I just kind of unfortunately had to bash the Eagles that way, but
nah, you know me, man. I'm not a bandwagon guy. I mean, I'm just a local guy that kind of supports Philly teams because that's where I'm from, and I don't really care for it to be any better than that. That's just me, but I don't know, man. I mean, I always believe in the weather. So you're taking a team that's from the Northeast that's not used to playing in the cold like that and putting them in those freaking Great Lake elements. You just lose.
Brother, about 6-7 months ago, I saw the Northeast, the Midwest. I saw the same cold. Nope, because we were in Chicago 2 months ago.
Yep,
that's frigid as hell, man.
Yeah, the Windy City, man. Yeah, that's a different kind of cold there.
That is no joke. So
especially now in January, rather than January here in the Philadelphia, New York area where it's 45 degrees today.
Yeah, like what? High 50s tomorrow and sunny.
Yeah, so I can only imagine the weather is going to play an impact. And my personal opinion, I see it in this area. I see the bandwagon. I see the Eagles fanfare. The whole season, everybody was calling them dogs, deadbeats. It was a lucky draw last year. And, it's kind of like they're kind of like a warm cup of coffee right now. They're not hot. And if they lose this game, they'll just be cold. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate thing. I to be honest with you, I'm not an Eagles fan, not in the slightest, but I would like to see them do another run. And just for NFL, just for being a football fan, I would love to see how the Eagles as an organization would decide on who stays, who goes when it comes to Foles and Wentz. That would really take Foles to have a nice deep playoff run. And frankly, I think this was a bad draw for them. Obviously, they don't control that. I mean, they controlled it, but they couldn't control who they picked. Going into this wild card weekend, and frankly, all roads are going to lead through New Orleans or the Rams, and we'll talk about the Rams next week, I'm sure. My thoughts on the Rams as a whole, but
hey, listen, I think Carson Wentz is their guy moving forward. I think that's the way the organization is going to go. But if that's the way they go, I'm very interested to see where Foles will go. There's a lot of interesting, like Jacksonville or I think there's some places where he can go and make a huge difference, and he's going to get paid also. But I'm interested to see where he goes in the offseason.
Well, he has that. Foles has that likability factor, right? Because he took a team that, even though Wentz was pushing it through at all those wins, he has that likability factor where he has that cape and that ring at the end of the year that technically he did it, right? That's all. That's all people remember anyway. The last great thing you did.
Exactly. Right. That's so true. He's going to get paid on that last thing he did.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's a Super Bowl MVP quarterback. You can't never take that from him. So
nope.
He deserves a starting job if that's what he chooses. There's been talk to. I've heard that he actually might just come back for less money just to sit on the bench and stay a Philadelphia Eagle. Now,
Really?
if he does that, then he's got a lot of class, and that's fantastic. But
Yeah, he's a good guy.
But I would question the competitive nature of that. I mean, here you are, you're getting your team to a Super Bowl, you're winning the Super Bowl first time in the history. Now you're riding the bench for the young kid again. The young kid gets hurt. Now you come in, you win 3 games, you get them into the playoffs. You have another playoff game, and now you don't want to be a starter somewhere and try to do that somewhere else. That would be hard for me, competitive side of it to.
Yeah, I agree. I hope he goes somewhere, becomes the man, becomes a starter. I think he can help a lot of teams out there they're like a quarterback away.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So
let me ask you guys this, man. I was at the barbershop this morning, and all 3 guys in there were talking about the Jets and how in 2-3 years they're going to be somebody. I know the Jets always speak about that, but it's been like 10, 11 years since they've done something.
I tell you what, here's the thing with the Jets. They got the great rookie quarterback, right? They got the draft pick they wanted to build around for the franchise with Darnold. And I think that's going to set them up well. But here's the thing. I think they got a ridiculous amount of money to spend in free agent this year. They got the 4th overall pick. I believe they should take like a tackle, set his blind side up, well protected, protect that young quarterback. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. So let's they should protect him with a left tackle, a stud left tackle in that draft. And they got I might have this wrong, but this is what I heard. I heard they have like close to $100 million to spend in free agency coming up. So they could put a lot of pieces around him, and see what they can do.
Yeah, one caveat to that thing, Scott, too, is as much money as they have quarterback, basically everybody in that division has one thing common that actually makes them setting themselves up for success. Is Tom Brady is getting older every year. And so eventually in the next couple of years, Tom Brady will then probably retire from the NFL. And then that brings wide open that entire division, which happens to be with the Jets, the Dolphins, obviously the Patriots, and there's probably some other team. But that goes to show how irrelevant those teams have been because of the success of the New England Patriots. So to your question, how good the Jets can be, they're going to be as good as they're going to be until Brady leaves. And then once Brady leaves, then it's basically wide open. And to Todd's point with the young quarterback, they're already a step in the right direction. I can't even think off the top of my head that 4th team that's in that division. That's how much they don't matter right now in this point in time. But they're already at one step.
I heard some rumblings about Le'Veon Bell going to the Jets. I don't know what you feel about that, or they would have the money to get him.
Well, I heard some rumblings that, and this is just my own rumblings, but I heard that with George Kittle over in San Francisco trying to court Antonio Brown, I would really like Antonio Brown to make a phone call to Le'Veon Bell and say, hey, let's pack our Steelers garbage up and let's go get that red and gold.
Man, that would be and with your quarterback coming back this year, that tight end that you guys have who's a stud, made the Pro Bowl, young guy. Ooh, that'd be dangerous out there for you.
But they're also talking about the 49ers going to be the one of the main people going after OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr.
That's funny you say that because I heard rumblings too that now the Giants, there's been some reports that they structured his contract so that it wouldn't hurt them if they traded him.
I know. So, and I heard, the 49ers, because there's a connection between Marquise Goodwin, who's the 49ers receiver, and OBJ. I think they're married into each other. They're cousins or they're really good friends. I know there's something between the two of them that might play into it. But we pick up one of those 2 free agent wide receivers out there in San Francisco. I'll be pretty happy about that. But obviously, the Jets and the 49ers will be like the rest of us slums watching this weekend because neither one of those 2 teams are worth a can of wet paint, much dry paint. So,
listen, I like your coach. I mean, I like San Francisco's coach. I think he's a good young mind of offensive mind. I think he has it going in the right direction.
Yeah. Speaking of right direction, Scott, you're heading out tonight with the family. You're going to kind of do a little simultaneous podcast kind of sort of thing out in Madison Square Garden. Let's touch up on that for a minute. Give our listeners some kind of closure here with the picks, and then we'll let Todd kind of do a recap of all the picks. But where are you heading? You're going to Madison Square Garden tonight, right?
I am, man. So I'm leaving Studio J here in about 5 minutes to jump on a train. I head up to New York with the kid and my mom and all. And
you're heading out to the PBR, so that's good. Well, Todd, I think Studio J just cut off on Scott, so I don't know. We'll have to revisit that. But you want to go ahead and do an overview of all your picks?
Yeah, let's go ahead and just recap for everybody. So we got first game today. We got Chargers at Baltimore. We're going to take Baltimore and give the 2.5. I believe we're going to say we got Baltimore winning 24. Close game, 24-21. We got the Seahawks at the Cowboys tonight. We're going to say give the 2 points. Cowboys are favored by 2. Take the boys with a 24-21 victory. We got the Colts, Texans. The Texans are favored by 1.5. You and I disagree. I say take the Texans because I couldn't, going back and forth on this one. I took the Texans 27-24 because of the home field advantage. But I think that's a pure toss-up. And then the last game of the weekend, we got the Eagles versus Bears. I think you and I are on the same page with that Bears defense. Give the 6.5, and I say the Bears, let's see here, 24-17, and give the points. But I wouldn't be surprised like you if it got a little ugly at the end.
Yeah, so for our listeners, I wouldn't put much stock in what I say. I'd go with what Todd says. He's the scout here. He's been crushing it. Been crushing it pretty much all season long, making people money. So jump on what Todd is suggesting and advising, and take what I say with a grain of salt. Sometimes I just play devil's advocate to play devil's advocate or bring a new perspective.
Never listen to me either, so they already know that though.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Todd. We're gonna watch Steadfast this weekend. I know I will be. After I do some things around the house here, sit down and watch these games, and then we'll definitely look for next week and moving forward. I know we discussed having more of an open platform of not just talking about picks and making people money, but actually talking about some different games. And then obviously with the football season kind of starting to wind down here, start talking about other stuff. So we look forward to continuing our sports part of this, our show.
And I'll tell you what, guys. Todd, you might want to start thinking about some sports around the world. I don't know when the FIFA soccer season kicks off and all that stuff. But we're having some listeners from Germany, Europe right now. Where else?
Not only soccer, because soccer is the world's most popular sport. If you think about it, we could do some soccer, but let's get into some cricket.
Some what is it called? Rugby. That'd be good too.
Yeah, rugby.
I almost said curling, but I'd be getting my man card pulled on that one.
We could do some picks on anything, man. You can lay money down on anything.
So brother, let me ask you this: you've been tracking now that the website's been up for about 2 weeks now, two full weeks. You've been tracking where people are finding us, and they're then in turn listening to us. So tell the people here, not only are we in the United States, tell us where they're being heavily in the United States. It looks like the East Coast, and then where else are around the world, or people actually hearing us two schmucks talk about rumblings, and then hearing Todd give his picks.
Yeah, so we are showing in Germany right now, England, Scotland. I'm trying to push some marketing out to Australia to pull some listeners from there, but we're also in West Africa. I know we had some hits from some military guys over in Kuwait, and of course the Eastern Seaboard, as well as of the U.S., Canada, and all throughout the U.S. To be honest with you guys, so we're pulling people in from wherever, and we appreciate all of our listeners all around the world. We love feedback, so send it in.
Yeah, so they can send feedback on all of our social media outlets. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn.
And that famous YouTube.
We are now moving over to YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, audio is on YouTube, so you can access it without having to, have an
Download
a downloaded podcast app. But here moving forward, we're going to be doing a lot of YouTube. We're going to start live streaming some stuff, and pretty soon here shortly, you're going to see our ugly mugs on YouTube in our in-house studio. We're getting that all set up and situated. We're going to invite, obviously, Todd and others to come into that live studio to what we're going to call the Whiskey Roundtable. We're going to be drinking whiskey, and we're going to be talking about all things in life, whether it is sports, politics, you name it, we're going to talk about it, and we're just going to let it ride. But Scott, before you banged on us there, you're going to Madison Square Garden to do something live to PBR, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch 150-pound men get on 4,000-pound bulls and get thrown off.
I like that, man.
I like
sure, yeah, make sure that
Hey, what's the line, man? We could have been betting on that.
Shoot, man, I don't know. There's this one bull, man. I don't even remember his name is at this point. I think his name was like Pearl Harbor or something. Nobody can ride him.
Okay.
Oh,
so
that's a great name.
Well, you got Ben Affleck. You got to get Ben Affleck to jump on that.
Hey, I'd pay money to see that.
Yeah. Which one died? Ben Affleck or Matt Damon? Which one died in that movie?
No, that was the other. That was Matt. No, but it wasn't even Matt Damon, was it? It was the other kid that looks like Matt Damon, but he's not Matt Damon.
Oh, Channing Tatum?
No, it was the other guy.
Oh, the other guy. Yeah, just keep going down the line of young, pretty white boys that play in movies.
Yeah, I would pay money as well, Todd, to see Ben Affleck get thrown off a bull. I would.
Well, listen, that challenge accepted. If he wants to come on the show, we can go down to Cowtown Rodeo down here in New Jersey. I'll pay $100 to put him on a bull if he wants to come on the show. We'll get Ben Affleck on the show. We'll drive down to Cowtown and get him on the bull down there.
Yeah, so if any of our listeners know Ben Affleck, have him give us a call.
Yeah, and if he likes the military, tell him to call us. If he doesn't like the military, he doesn't have to call us. We always like to put that out there as a with the carrot in front of you, so you got to chase that.
Yeah, like Geico commercial.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, listen, folks, you guys have a good day. I hope all of our listeners have a fun time this weekend watching that sports and enjoying some beer and wings and all that good food that come along with it.
You got it, brother. Well, you enjoy the PBR. I'll touch base with you then. We'll have a conversation live at the PBR tonight. And outside of that, Todd, we appreciate your picks as usual, sir. To all our listeners, be safe.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I always enjoy this. This is exciting. I look forward to next week as we get further in the NFL playoffs. And as always, God bless the men and women of our military and the veterans. We thank you for all that you guys do and allow us to
I got a
sleep
diehard
well at
Eagles
night.
fan right here. He's going to give us a little chant real fast.
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles.
There you go.
Oh, boy.
Enjoy
All right.
it, guys.
All right. Tell him Khalil Mack's after him.
Now. You better look
So,
over
I'll give you guys a hit.
All right, brother. You guys be safe.
All right.
All right,
have a great time.